Hi, this is David with David's Tutorials, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make this delicious Cajun squash side dish. I say it's a side dish mainly because it's not a main dish, it goes on the side of something else, and it is wonderful. Now the ingredients you need for this side dish are very simple. Like most of my recipes, I love to keep things simple. You're going to need a yellow squash, you're going to need a zucchini, you're going to need some mushrooms, and you're going to need an onion. Now if you only have one squash and one zucchini, then I would suggest half an onion. We're going to start with the onion. Oh, and the other thing we're going to need is butter. Not just butter, but we're going to use brown butter, or if you don't have brown butter, you can make it. Just look at my video right there and it'll tell you how to make delicious brown butter, which is good for many things. You can put it on vegetables, you can put it on meat. I wouldn't advise putting it on ice cream, but brown butter, or if you don't want to use brown butter, then use ghee, which is clarified butter. And the main reason for this is that butter has 20% water in it, and if you use butter to cook things, and you're going to wind up, unless you get all the water out first, which will then start turning it into brown butter, if you don't get the water out first, you're going to wind up steaming what you cook instead of actually cooking it. Now in the onion, I've already cut it in half. I've cut off the head, I've cut off the root, and now what we're left with is the paper on the outside. I'm going to go ahead and peel that paper off right now. My favorite knife to use is this cleaver style knife. I believe it's a Chinese chopping knife or whatever, but I'm going to show you why this is such a good thing. First, I'm going to use it to cut long ways. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to cut radially. Basically just 3 cuts. And the reason for that is because I want fairly large onion chunks. And that's basically all there is to the onion. I'm going to set that aside, and here's why I love this cleaver. Just scoop it, boom. It not only makes a great chopper, but it also makes a great scooper. Next, we're going to chop up the squash, cut off the stem end, cut off the little nub on the back. Now I'm going to cut it in half just to make the pieces a little bit smaller. And the reason for that, I have gone into this a little bit in previous videos. One of the most important things about cooking anything is chunk size. You need to have chunks of the size, got to get my fingers out of the way here, there we go. We need to have chunks of a size where you can get some of each flavor in a forkful or a spoonful. It doesn't do very much good to have chunks of a size where only one chunk will fit in your mouth, and sometimes you have to kind of force it to get in your mouth. That just doesn't work. It's not pleasant for the diner, and we're not making this for us to cook. We're making it for the diners. Isn't that correct? Okay. Now we're going to do the scooping here of the yellow squash into the bowl. Now the reason I'm putting these in separate bowls, the squash and the onions, is I want to give the onions a head start. Here's the zucchini. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that one in half as well. Matter of fact, let's cut it here, and now let's cut it here. Okay. Chopping the zucchini. My mother-in-law used to get so tickled when I would do this sort of chopping. She said it sounded like a machine. Not only that, it's a lot quicker. Now, back when I was telling you the ingredients, I didn't include the seasonings. Let's do that right now. There's only 2 seasonings you need. Number 1, you're going to need Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. If you don't have this in your local grocery store, then I will put a link to it down in the description section below, so you can go ahead and click that link and you can buy Tony Chachere's from a worldwide vendor. You'll see it when you click on it. Anyway, the only other thing you need is salt. And I've got here the sea salt, and it's natural, it's organic, and that sort of thing. So basically, you've got a squash, you've got a zucchini, you've got onions, you've got mushrooms, you've got salt, you've got Chachere's, and brown butter. That's all there is in it. It's very simple, and it is totally yummy. Now, before I get started, I'm going to open up these mushrooms. I'm going to add them to the bowl with the zucchini and the squash. Notice I have here organic sliced mushrooms. I got sliced because I'm kind of lazy. I didn't want to have to slice them myself. There we go. That's it. Let's get started cooking. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is turn the heat on under this stainless steel frying pan and add the brown butter. The heat is on, it is melting. Now, I also use this metal spatula in the stainless steel pan because it gives me a much better feel for the texture of the vegetables when I go to stir them around. As soon as the butter is fully melted, I'm going to add in the onions. There we go. Stir them around, make sure they're all coated. I want to give the onions maybe a minute or 2 of cooking before I add in the other vegetables. And this is simply because the onions, if you cook them to same level of doneness as the other vegetables, they might be a little bit crispy and therefore a little bit sharp. When you cook onions, first they taste very sharp, and then they cook down a little bit and they start to convert that sharpness into a little bit of sweetness. The more you cook them, the sweeter it gets. Let's go ahead and let those cook for a minute or 2. Now, you probably can see in this pan, it's starting to bubble. The bubbling is not coming from the brown butter because the brown butter already has all of the water cooked out of it. The bubbling is coming from the water in the onions. Now, whenever you have water in anything, whether it's the vegetable you're cooking, the meat you're cooking, butter that you're browning, as long as it's bubbling, the temperature is not going to get above 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees centigrade, which is the boiling point of water. It will stay there until the water boils out, and then the temperature can get up above the boiling point of water. And that's the main reason I'm using brown butter instead of regular butter. I don't want to have to boil the water out of the butter before I start getting the feel of how well the vegetables are done. All right. Now, you may be wondering, how much butter did I use? And I hate to say this, but the answer is, it depends. Or in other words, some. It depends on how much you're doing in the vegetable department. It depends on the heat of your burner. And it depends on which vegetables you're cooking. Okay, I can feel through my spatula that the onion chunks are not clunking against the spatula as hard as they used to. I can feel they're starting to get a little bit soft. That's about the right time for me to start adding these other vegetables. There we go. Now, the main thing I want to do is get them all coated with the butter. And once they're all coated with the butter, I can tell for sure whether I needed to add any more butter. But from previous experience, the amount of butter I added should be sufficient. Now, how long am I going to cook this? I'm going to cook it only until the vegetables start to get soft. Now, if you let them start to get barely soft, when you eat them, they're going to be kind of crisp, and that's what some people call California style. To me, California style vegetables in this presentation just are not done quite enough. On the other hand, you do not want to cook them until the vegetables turn into mush. So we're looking for somewhere between California style and fully cooked mushy vegetables. And I'm thinking maybe we're going to cook them to about 40% of the fully mushy vegetables. And that you can tell by feeling it through the spatula, which is why I'm continuing to stir it with the spatula, not only to keep them from sticking on the bottom, because I've got it on a very high heat here, but also so I can feel the texture of the doneness of the vegetables. Now, if you don't have any brown butter, it's definitely possible to put the butter in the pan first. I would start with a whole stick and just cook it until all the water boils off. It'll foam up and it'll make these noises. You can hear this in my video on the brown butter. And when the noise begins to subside, that's your indication that the water has pretty much cooked out of the butter. And watch it very carefully, because very quickly after the water noise subsides from the cooking of the butter, it will start to turn caramel brown and then mahogany brown. You don't want to let it get any more dark than that mahogany brown. Now, I'll tell you this, I said a whole stick of butter, that's 1/4 pound, and I can't remember how many grams that is, but you can look it up if you want to. A whole stick of butter might sound like a lot to you, but I promise you this, however much butter you're using is probably not enough, because is there ever any such thing as too much butter? I don't think so. Well, maybe, but not. It's hard to do. All right, I can feel the vegetables starting to get soft now. Probably should have used less mushrooms, but hey, I like mushrooms. If you like mushrooms, then go ahead and use that many mushrooms. I think it was 1 pound. Otherwise, you might want to use fewer mushrooms. Now, as with all my recipes, the proportion of the ingredients you put into the recipe is flexible. You do what is right for you. And you're perfectly welcome to try different things. And if you do try it, let me ask you to please come back in the comment section and let us know what you tried and how it turned out, because the people who read the comments will be just as interested in what doesn't work as what does work. So, all right, we're now starting to get down to the vegetable texture that I'm looking for. You can tell by the steam coming off that the water is being cooked out of the vegetables, and as it does, the vegetables are getting softer and softer. Now that's just about right. I'm going to turn the heat way down, and now I'm going to season it. All right, the first thing I'm going to put in is some sea salt. Now, when I do salt anything, I generally like to salt in my hand first so I can tell how fast it's coming out of the salt shaker. That's what I do. Okay, that seems like it's probably enough. Generally, I go to what seems like enough, and then I do just a little bit more. And when I do that, it comes out a little bit shy of being enough. I can always add more, but with salt and seasonings, you can always add more. It's kind of hard to unadd it once it's in there. You just can't take it out. All right, now I'm going to add some Tony Chachere's to that. Now you might notice that right here on the top, I've got 2 holes exposed in the shaker because I don't want it to come out too fast. Now, I generally make this less spicy than I would like because my wife likes things less spicy. This will make it spicy. Add a little bit, you get a little bit of spice, and you've got to do that or it's not going to be the Cajun squash side dish. If you like it really spicy, you can add a lot more. Be very careful with this. I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see this. Okay. loosen it up. Notice I am knocking the shaker with my knuckle as I add it. I'm looking at the white spots, the zucchini and the squash, to see just about how much I'm adding. And that looks like it's going to be just about right, but you'll never be able to tell for sure until you taste it. Okay, that is looking really, really good. Ooh, 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 that looks good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. It's going to continue to cook a little bit while it's on the burner. Let me go ahead and get a little bit of this. I want to get some onions, some squash, and some zucchini. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, get in there. Now, let me go over here. And now let's taste it. Got to blow on it because it just came out of the pan. And if I just stuck it in my mouth, you know what happened? Ah, it'd be too hot. Let me try it now. Oh my. Oh my, is that good. That is absolutely perfect. If I were going to give this to, for example, my son and his family, they'd like things a little spicier. I might add maybe double the Tony Chachere's in there that I have in there right now. But this is absolutely wonderful. It's soft, it's crunchy, it's spicy, it's salty. It's just a perfect side dish for almost anything you can put on your table. Okay, that's about all I've got for you right now. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up so you'll let me and you'll let the YouTube robots know that you thought it was a helpful video, and they will recommend it to other people so they can watch it and learn how to make this delicious Cajun squash casserole. Also, don't forget to click that subscribe button and the bell icon, and YouTube will let you know whenever we post another great tutorial right here on David's Tutorials. And let me tell you this, if you're not watching this on the YouTube channel right now, go down in the lower right hand corner and click on the YouTube icon, and that will open up this video in the YouTube app or web page. And once you get there, then you can click the like button, you can click the subscribe button, you can leave a comment, and we love to hear your comments. I read every single one of them. I try to respond to them all, and so far I've been doing okay, but we love to hear from you, and we will just see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Time to serve this up in the serving dish. Here we have it, just this most delicious dish. Try it. You're gonna like it.